Welcome to this amazing, fucking YouTube video. I'm Crazy LS. I'll be your host, and today I'm here to show you the most ups and downs show you've ever seen. Isn't that right, estranged audience member?
Kill yourself.
Well, not wasting any more time, let's get right into the show. You all know about the, okay, no, I'll cut the act. The Amazing Digital Circus, the indie animated cartoon made by Gooseworks in collaboration with Glitch. You know, I see a lot of indie animated shows get a lot of attention that they don't always completely deserve. So I figured it'd be fun to take a deep dive into this show, and does it really deserve all the success it has? Or is it just another content farming piece of shit show? I'm here to answer all those questions. Make sure to stay tuned till the end. And maybe like the video and subscribe. The last video got fucking 40 views. Anyways, episode 1 of the Amazing Digital Circus, they really thrust you into it. We start out the episode by zooming in on the Digital Circus tent with a really cool opening with some fire music. If Digital Circus knows how to do one thing, it certainly set the mood. I gotta give them that. And I just gotta say, can we talk about how great Caine is? I love Caine, he's my personal favorite. Fucking fuckface he is. Love him. 10 out of 10 character. Good writing. And then we go into the theme song and they introduce all the characters, and then Pomni fucking appears, gets thrusted into the circus, if you will, and wacky hijinks ensue. Gets given a name by the best character in the show. Caine sets up wacky hijinks adventure. Jack says fuck that shit and says let's go fucking see the clown, and tells Crybaby and Chess Piece to go deal with the adventure because he's not dealing with that shit. Then Pomni, Jax, and Ragatha all head to go see their friend that mysteriously went missing. Kaufmo, ooh, wonder why. He turns into a giant monster, more hijinks ensue. Then Pomni runs around looking for the best character in the show, while Jax deals with very boring B-plot. Pomni runs away, finds exit door, leads to void. Caine comes back, fixes everything, episode ends. So let's talk about the good first, shall we? I think this episode does quite a few good things, so let's get into that first. I think it does a great job of introducing us to this world and all the characters, setting the scenes very well with the perfect music and the perfect lighting and the perfect camera shot. And it's clear that there was a lot of passion that went into making this episode. But I think it falls flat in quite a few places. So I gotta say, I think the pacing is a little wonky with that episode. Don't get me wrong, I sure enjoyed myself a decent amount, otherwise I wouldn't have watched it. But I gotta say, it's not the best paced episode, but it's a pilot, so I'm willing to excuse some small things like that. This episode tries out really hard to make it feel like it's an intense, gut-wrenching, jaw-dropping episode, but I would say it doesn't do a good job at being intense or scary or any of that. They try to use some liminal horror, and I love me some liminality. Don't get me wrong. I eat, sleep, and breathe liminality. I made a whole video about it that nobody watched. So if anyone would like liminal horror, it's me. I just don't think they used it all too well. The animation for this one is, it's alright. It's not Glitch's best work, but it's a pretty good animation. But overall, it's pretty meh. But again, for a pilot, you can only ask for so much, right? I think the main plot with Kaufmo abstracting and all of that, I think they do a really good job of fleshing that out and making it very good and engaging. But with the B-plot, I gotta say not so much. The B-plot I found just every time it came on screen, I was like, oh god, can we get back to the actual fucking story here? I'm ready for this shit to be over so I can actually see what the fuck happens in the plot that I actually care about. That'd be cool. But final thoughts, overall, I didn't think it was too bad, really. I think the idea of the horror of putting on a VR headset and being trapped in the world of the VR place you're at and exploring how Pomni feels about that and how she was just thrusted in there. I think overall it's a fun concept that was fleshed out half decently well. But the writing was pretty meh, and it wasn't that exciting. So for the pilot of the series, I'm gonna have to give it my formal rating of a 6 out of 10. Shall we move on? Now, next episode. We kick off episode 2 with a rather trippy experience that is later revealed to be a nightmare of Pomni's after the events of the first episode. And I actually think it's one of the best parts of this entire episode. They do a great job illustrating how Pomni's mentally processing everything that's going on in her surroundings, and after everything that happened in episode 1 with how crazy that was of a first day, I think everything that happened in that nightmare is completely justified, and any normal person would probably think even worse things, honestly. And now the first thing you'll notice with episode 2, the animation has taken a step up that will be a reoccurring theme throughout this series, actually. Also, this scene really made me giggle with Bubble fucking swearing his ass off. That was great. So after Bubble says some swear words, Caine reveals today's adventure and blah 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 blah. They're going to the Candy Kingdom to save some fucking piece of shit candy people from their syrup being stolen or something. It's really stupid. They go through the portal, the princess, blah 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 blah. Caine is God in this world.
To help us with our recent catastrophe.
Then the princess says, go get my shit that was stolen. So the crew heads out on this big ass car and the whole sequence ensues where they crash cars and do a bunch of wacky hijinks. It's a whole thing. I don't like it. I think it's really shit, honestly. I wasn't engaged. It was really forgettable. And almost every single bit they tried to do in that part, I did not find funny in the slightest. So big frown on that one. And then at some point in the car, they get in like a crash and the main crew falls into a pit while Gummygoo and Pomni get like no-clipped out of reality and they get separated and it's a whole thing. Gummygoo walks around, finds a bunch of NPCs standing there of himself and his friends. He has a little existential crisis. Pomni falls down in there with him, comforts and is like, oh my god, we could be best friends. Has his whole worldview shattered, essentially. I think that whole sequence really tries to be something like, holy shit, oh my god, what's going on? But it's a really meh sequence. It's a really meh sequence and I really don't like it that much. So they do so, they launch through the air, some fire music plays and perfect sequence, one of the best parts of the episode. And then they go back up and like boring shit happens. There's like a chocolate monster in the B plot or something. It's really boring, guys. It's really bad. Then Pomni and Gummygoo get back to the surface. They meet up. There are now 2 trucks because wacky mechanics in games because it's not real. Whoa. Pomni tells the group that they're taking this NPC piece of shit back to the circus with them. Ragatha goes, I don't really think that's allowed. And Pomni goes, I do it. And then Pomni goes, I do what I want. Fuck you. It's actually quote for quote. You could see it in the show. Really, I'm 100% happy. Then they do so. Gummygoo fucking dies. The end. Oh, and Jax is like pissy because the adventure wasn't violent enough for him. Which real. You know, I wish the adventure was more exciting too. I'm the one who had to sit there and watch it. This episode does a lot of good things, but a lot of bad things. The opening sequence really hooks you, gets you engaged, really shows you how Pomni's processing everything that's going on in this world. But as the episode goes on, it just kind of gets worse and worse and worse. Has a few standout moments like Pomni and Gummygoo getting launched back into the map. It plays some really nice music and has this super cool sequence. I also like how at the end of the episode they do a funeral for Kaufmo, the guy who died or got abstracted or whatever you want to call it in the digital circus. Being abstracted is the closest thing to death that can happen in the digital circus. So they all throw a funeral for him, and dare I say, I almost felt something. I really like that they did this whole little funeral thing. It really makes you actually feel a little bit more of the weight of one of their friends dying. I actually felt something about this random cartoon character that isn't real. Can you believe it? And as the funeral zooms out, it plays this fire-ass track. This show really knows how to set its tone with music. My final consensus with this episode is it's a very mid and episode with some very nice standout moments in it. So it's not all bad, it could be worse. It could be Dandy's World. Solid 3 out of 10 for that one. Episode 3, the spooky ghost episode. Ugh. We start the episode out with Jax being a dick and telling Pomni to hold her breath so that he can see what happens. That's important later. She does so and her face turns RGB. It's crazy. They explain what happens when everyone else holds their breath, and I don't know, and Zubal's straight or something, I don't know, some stupid shit. Then Caine's like, adventure question mark? And he says the adventure for today is a crazy spooky horror thing, and the whole thing is that he made it scary so that maybe Zubal would want to come, because a little detail I've left out in the other episodes, Zubal fucking hates going on these adventures. Every time Caine does a fun adventure, Zubal sits it out and doesn't even want to go or show up. And the same thing happens this time. Caine's like, hey, come do my cool thing, and Zubal's like... So Zubal stays behind, and the gang goes on into the scary place. They walk through and they come across 2 doors, and a spooky ghost, ooh, look at how spooky he is. Oh my gosh. Goes, this is the baby bitch door, and this is the scary door. Ooh. And Jax is a dick, so he basically throws shit into the hard door and ends up making Kinger and Pomni go in the hard door while he takes himself and the rest of the people he couldn't force into the hard door in the easy door. So Pomni and Kinger end up down here in this creepy cellar with this bunch of heads on the walls. It's a whole thing. Listen to a tape. The tape guy really reminds me of the tapes from Poppy Playtime with, you know, with the, oh, it was a mistake and an intruder, and we play this tape on repeat. You know what I'm talking about. But the way he talks and his general mannerisms just remind me of that guy. In fact, this whole episode kind of reminds me of Poppy Playtime in a way. They come across a tape, it tells them blah blah blah. They see a little lift and it's locked, so Pomni goes, oh, we gotta find the key, I'm a little bitch. Kinger, we gotta find the key, oh my god. They go into an office, Pomni searches drawers for the key, Kinger listens to a tape that basically tells you, hey dumbass, you probably shouldn't have stopped looking at that big ass head on the wall. Stupid. They go back, the big ass head's gone. He scares the shit out of them. They try and run away to the lift. It doesn't go up, it goes down. Classic horror trope there. And then they end up in a lower cellar. The tape starts playing some bullshit. There's a dead guy with a gun. Kinger takes said gun. The tape starts playing and says some bullshit about the monster. The monster's head and body in a pretty unsettling sequence actually comes from one end and the other, with its body coming from one way and its head coming from the other direction, and they only have 2 bullets, so they've only got 1 shot at each, in a pretty tense sequence where they end up actually managing to fight back and kill the monster. But then the tape magically starts playing again and goes, oh, by the way, that was an angel and now you're going to hell because you killed an angel. And then Kinger calls out the very logical thing like, if you shot it, how are you recording this tape? And then they go to hell, which is just some dark cellar for some reason. But hey, you know, who am I to judge? Then Pomni's like, I'm out of here. Tries to run through, gets fucked, obviously, because, you know, can't be that easy. Gets fucked, gets possessed in a pretty cool sequence once again. Kinger beats the shit out of Pomni. Yes, I'm not kidding. Until the ghost comes out, and then Pomni goes, oh, fuck this place, I'm in hell, wait, I'm a crybaby little bitch. And then Kinger goes, hey, it's alright. Did you know my wife's dead? And then he tells a really sad story about his wife that actually really got me. I actually felt something about the funny cartoon chess piece. And after Kinger goes, my wife is dead, lol, him and Pomni come up with this genius plan to hold their breath. Oh, see, it all ties back to the beginning of the episode, just like I told you it would. So they do so and walk through the fucking flame. So they do so, hold their breath, walk through the soul hallway. This works because the souls go through in the air or some stupid shit. I don't fucking know. What do I look like, a soulologist? So they do that, get back. So they do that, and while that's all going on, we get snippets of the very first side plot that I actually thoroughly enjoyed in this show. With both of the first 2 episodes, I really didn't enjoy the side plot. It felt like it was filler and it just took away from the main story. But with this one, I actually had a fun time with it. It was a very funny side plot of Caine trying to justify to Zubul why Zubul needs to go on his adventures, and Zubul being like, I'm sad. And then in the end, it actually turns into Zubul being a therapist to Caine about his own adventures. It's just a very fun and funny sequence. It's not super duper important, but it was definitely worthwhile watching, and every time it cut to it, I laughed instead of going, can we get back to the fucking show? So love the side plot, happy with that one. But anyways, back to the main story. So they all head back. So Kinger and Pomni make their way up the big evil soul staircase, holding their breath, blah, 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 blah. They make their way back to the door, and everyone's waiting for them like, hi guys, we've been waiting for you, how'd it go? And then Kinger was like, she was very brave. Kinger, the father figure of 2024, let me tell you. And then they go back to the circus. Jax is an asshole, was like, how was it like being stuck with fuckface for all that time? And then Pomni's like, he was actually pretty cool. And then Jax is like, oh, fuck this bitch, I'm not getting anything funny out of her, I'm out of here. And that's episode 3. I really liked this episode. Like, I'm really a big fan of this episode. This took this show from being just another stupid indie show that got popular for no reason just because it's an indie show with bright colors, to, holy shit, I see why people like this show now. Completely turned around my opinion of the show with just 1 episode. Good job, Gooseworks. In the first episode, they really wanted it to feel tense and heart-wrenching and gut whatever the fucking, and they failed pretty bad. But in this one, they do a great job of setting the atmosphere, making it feel intense and heart-wrenching and all of those things. You really feel everything that happens, everything that goes wrong, every mistake they make, every feeling, it hits. It really does almost feel like you're there on first watch. And the music does a great job of setting all these scenes up. I know I'm harping a lot on the music, but this show does a really good job with the music, and I want to give them credit for that. Also, Ragatha's like gay or something, I don't really know. Also, they have this bit where the lights go out and there's like a fly, and I could not stop laughing at that. While they don't do the most comedy in this episode because it's supposed to be a more scary one, the jokes they do make really got me. I really actually liked the jokes in this episode. Which after episode 2 was a breath of fresh air, because episode 2 featured some of the most unfunny jokes I had ever seen in a show. And during the therapy side plot, Caine actually has a whole breakdown because Zubul goes, nobody likes your adventures, because Zubul's an asshole. Big asshole. And Caine actually has a whole breakdown where the whole entire circus starts breaking down. It's actually a really cool sequence and kind of hit a little close to home. If I'm not... making adventures is the only thing I'm good at. Now if I'm not good at that... And then he like has a stroke. Real, man, real. real. And the story with Kinger's wife and getting abstracted really hits. That one's good. They got me with that one. I really felt something for that cartoon character, which doesn't happen often when I'm watching a TV show. I actually really liked that episode. I think it was great. I really liked that episode. Out of all the episodes so far, it is by far the best episode in the series. I think it does a good job at trying to be the most intense episode. It really does do well being intense, unlike the first two. After episode 2, I was quite worried for the rest of the show, but after seeing this episode, I'm on a much more optimistic note. If they can do that, they should sure make another good episode. And once again, the animation is better than the last episode, which just seems to be the case with every episode. The animation improves. I don't know if it's the budget improving, the animators that they've hired just getting better at animating. Couldn't tell ya, but it looks better every time. This episode gets a very happy rating of 9 out of 10. This episode opens up with Jax being a complete and utter fucking asshole and breaking another one of Gangle's masks. This is a reoccurring thing. Ragatha calls him a dick. Zubul takes pity and goes, "Hey, I got something for you," and gives Gangle a fun little mask she found in her parts box. Gangle puts it on and goes, "Holy shit, it's so great, thumbs up emote." And then Caine goes, "It's adventure time." The gang all gets ready to go on the fucking adventure. Caine goes, "We're gonna do another spooky one." Ooh, ooh. And then Pomni goes, "Yeah, fuck that shit. Not a fucking chance after last time." And Caine goes, "Yeah, well, if you're so good at it, do it yourself." And then they go, "Yeah, we did. You're just a dick and never look at the suggestions box." He goes, "Oh." And then he finds one saying, "We should work at a fast food place. Yay!" And then that's the adventure. That's what they do. They're fucking wage slaves for an episode. That's the adventure. The big adventure is we're gonna work at a fast food place. Yay! So that thing happens. They start working at the fast food place. And Gangle with this new mask. Throughout the episode, you can really start to tell something is off with this new mask. It's not working the same as the others. She seems almost exhausted by the mask. And it goes on and on throughout the episode. Oh, and also Jax has to stop being a dick for once in his life because Gangle's having a manic breakdown and goes, "I'm gonna tell Caine to fuck you up if you keep being a piece of shit." And Jax goes, "What the fuck, bro? Why'd you do that? You're such a dick." And then Gangle's like, "I am an asshole." So Gangle keeps being a dick throughout the episode. So Jax keeps trying to be a dick but getting fucked over at every turn. At a certain point throughout the episode, he finally gives up on trying to be this big asshole. It's almost weird to see him not being his super kooky, joked up self in this episode. We're all used to Jax always being an asshole, but he's so exhausted by the end of this episode. He's just a normal, reasonable guy at this point, and everyone's a little fucking blown away by it. Even Pomni's like, "Who does this fucker think he is?" Pomni tries to talk to Gangle about her problems, but Gangle basically brushes her off and goes, "No way, I'm not talking about my issues," and then walks back inside and says, "Pomni, get back to work." Oh, and Ragatha gets like high or something. I don't really know. And Pomni working the register, but then, holy shit, who is that but Gummygoo? They brought him back. They actually made him matter, guys. Holy shit, they brought him back. They actually made that part of the story matter. That really shitty guy from episode 2, they brought him back and made me feel something about that whole sequence. With Pomni just being like, "Hey, friend," and him not remembering her. Oh, it hurt. And then him walking out and Pomni like being like, "Bye, I guess. Have a good day. Thanks for coming to Spudsies." That one hurt. That one hurt in the soul. And then by the end of the episode, Gangle is just completely fucking broken. After Jax and Ragatha both went, "I wish you were fucking sad. You're annoying when you're happy. Kill yourself." She's basically at her fucking limit and is just staring at the wall like dying slowly as the shift goes on. Ragatha and Zubul leave, basically leaving her alone in the store. And then she has this moment where the camera gets all shaky and everything goes. And I gotta say, I don't really like to get personal here. I like to keep it fun and light. But as someone who has worked a 9 to 5 with tons and tons of mental health issues, I relate to that hard. Like, holy shit, Gangle, real as fuck. That's about how I felt working at Sonic every day. Gangle's like closing up and then Pomni goes, "Hey, you look like you're fucking dying slowly. How about I stay back and close up for you?" And Gangle goes, "Can I? Is that okay?" And Pomni goes, "Don't be a bitch. Do it. Do it. No balls." And then she leaves and goes to fucking kill herself. I'm not kidding, that happens in a beautifully illustrated sequence with Mwah, music, once again. Did I mention I like the music in this show, guys? Did I say that yet? I don't think I have. I like the music in this show. So she goes to fucking kill herself. She gets teleported to Caine's office. Caine goes, "You did a great job, besides the part where you basically fucking killed yourself. B+." And then everyone's hanging out on the couch, joking around, with Gangle being the only one hiding away, because she's like, "I'm such a dick. I made all my friends feel like shit because I'm an asshole." Which, yeah, you did. But then Zubul comes over and goes, "I'm gay, let's fuck." And then the credits roll, and it's a great, great happy day. I love the face Jax makes when Gangle is like, "Let's work at a fast food place." He's like... This episode as a whole was great. It was not as good as the previous episode, just by a little bit, but it was good. It was a good one. I liked how they brought back the NPCs from all the previous ones and actually made them do stuff. I thought that was cool. Them bringing the gummygoo thing to a whole circle arc and actually making me feel something about him. The character I really fucking hated because of how shitty the episode, his debut episode, was. There was a part where Jax was misbehaving and Gangle was like, "You just need a little more dreaming," and then a big hand comes to like reevaluate him, and it's like this almost like analog horror style thing. It's really cool, actually. I also really like Jax being so worn out that he has to let down his persona and let his normal guyness shine through. It's really cool, actually. I like that part. Holy shit, I related to Gangle in this fucking episode. Don't quote me, but I think a large part of the theme of this episode was masking, which is a term in the mentally ill community. Ooh. Of basically neurodivergent people pretending to be normal people in public and bloody bloody blah blah blah. The idea is that Gangle was masking her true self to try and appear more normal because they were at their work and bloody blah blah, because they were at their work and had to be professional in that environment. And after masking all day, she was so exhausted that she literally wanted to fucking kill herself. Relate. I relate. This episode has got to be the funniest episode in the entire series. I was laughing my ass off throughout this fucking episode. The jokes in this episode are top notch. This episode put to bed any of my concerns about this show not having good comedy after episode 2. So, my final rating of a solid 8 out of 10. Not bad, Digital Circus, not bad. You've won me over. So, final thoughts on the series. Would I recommend you watch this show? Well, you gotta weigh the ups and downs here. One, the show does start off very slow and not the best, but it really picks up fast when you get to episode 3. I think the show has pretty good character build up for only 4 episodes. They flesh out every character at least half decently well. And considering only 4 episodes and some shows take entire seasons to flesh out one character, not half bad. This show really knows how to set the scene. I know I've said it a few times throughout the video, but this show can really set the mood with its lighting, environments, and music. It really shines in the music category, let me tell you. I'm a big fan of this show's music. Honestly, this show is pretty funny. Besides episode 2, this show writes some pretty funny jokes. I was giggling the whole time I was watching it at almost every joke except episode 2. Episode 2 is terrible. I don't even watch it. Don't even watch it. So that brings us to the question, should you watch The Amazing Digital Circus? Yeah, I think it's worth a watch. It's not that long, and it's decently quality, you know? I personally think that sitting through the second episode is a chore, and I wouldn't do it. I'd skip the second episode, honestly. I'd watch the first episode for context, skip the second episode, watch the third and fourth for quality. That would be my recommendation, but hey, do what you want. But after all that, I'm really excited to see where the franchise goes from here. You've turned me from a hater to a fan, Digital Circus, and for that, hats off to you. Anyways, it's been real. Thanks for watching. See you around, chumps. Wow, so you really just watched an almost 25-minute YouTube video in this day and age. You're a fucking freak. But hey, good for you. I mean, I hope you enjoyed. I just wanted to come on here and say, you know, it's been cool getting all this support recently. I wanted to kind of put it out there. I feel like I haven't really said anything in my videos. So, you know, just wanted to put a quick thank you out there. And I'm not stopping. I'm not stopping until I'm done, bro. You know, gotta keep pushing. I'll see you next week.